Is your host, DJ. It is your favorite co-host, Mr. B, and Thermnation, live and back in full effect. How's it going,
What's
fellas?
good, y'all? What's good?
Hey, man.
You,
Fellow Eagles. Shout out to them Eagles.
Shout out to the
you.
Eagles. You see what I've been subjected to, right? Um, on this episode of today, we are going to just really dive deep into a couple of fun things, right? Today, we're going to keep it light, little light on analysis, but still giving you some advice to help you win those fantasy leagues. So, at first, we're going to talk about something called pole position, right? So, in fantasy leagues, and especially in a redraft format, there are different spots you can end up getting your draft from. Now, some leagues are creative with how they do who gets to determine that order. Whether it's, I've seen some leagues do combines where it's punt, pass, kick, right? And they add up all the scores, and that's who gets their positioning. But let's just say it's a random snake order. I'll start with you, Therm. Is there any position that you like to be in certain drafts?
Yeah, it's very simple. First, second, third, ninth, no, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Okay.
Why?
So
Because, and that's specifically the Snake League, because I believe in being able to pick twice in a row. I think that's better.
okay, stack them, and then you got a little while before you get there for your next couple of picks. So, to be honest, I'll nickname it the turn, right? So you just like being on the turn, whether it's the 12, 13, or whether it's that first position. Um, I'm going to ask you to take a stance here because there's two very different roster compositions that you're going to have to go through, right? If I'm picking one, and let's say you're Saquon Barkley or in previous years Christian McCaffrey, you don't have another pick for in most leagues 23 something players, and then you take advantage of the turn. Is is that a preferred thing for you to take like a guaranteed number one guy, or do you prefer being at that 12, 13 turn where you're getting pretty close values stacked up because those are two different roster builds.
Personally, early, because the reason why is I can not only get the guaranteed guy, but on my turn, I feel like I'm at a pretty significant advantage because I can either fill out my running back room and go three running backs, or I can go two running backs and a pretty good wide receiver. So I feel like that's the advantage.
Okay. All right. So front.
Whereas, let me juxtapose it real quick, and because of the last pick, you miss out. I mean, having 10, 11, 12, um, it's not it's not way worse than one, two, three. It's just you miss out on those top seven players. You know
You
what I
may
mean?
not get
And
RB1, but you have an opportunity to probably stack in your case because you're running back focused, right? You have a chance to probably stack RB5 and 6, right? So if we look at last
correct.
year's number one option was pretty much going to be I don't think a lot of people took CMC, but CMC was there.
Good.
Um, I think he was kind of like a top option for a lot of people. But if you were in that 10, 11, 12 range, even in our own home league, Saquon, Derrick Henry could have been the stack at the back of the first round, right? It could have been
It
a,
should have
a
been.
it could have been a couple of different people, right? That was available. It was available. You gotta trust your own gut, third.
This guy's terrible, man.
I trusted Achan because I trusted the upside. I
And
think
it
You
wasn't
Achan
know
a
was
what,
a
bad
really good
pick.
Chris?
running
Don't
back.
let him, Chris. Don't
He's a
let you
top
was
10
right.
running back.
Chris,
H,
you was right.
no,
You was right.
Achan's
You
a
did.
top
You
10
was
running back.
It
you
wasn't a
was
bad
wrong for
pick.
not listening to me, but you was right with HM.
Hey man.
I like
So
Achan.
I
You picked
don't
Derrick Henry, brother. You would have destroyed the league.
I think you made a good case for both, right? It's a matter of a the number one pick gives me great anxiety just because you have to be right? Because you don't have another pick for 20 something picks. So you either have to have a completely beast of a rest of the draft, or that number one pick just has to be the number one guy that you want, right? So for you, B, how does that look for you? What is your pole positioning that you prefer in your drafts?
I personally agree with Chris, if I'm honest, but
Yeah.
I will say I do like the last pick because of the double, and also because of the double back to back. You also can pretty much not like dictate, but you kind of like dictate the draft for people in a sense. Not in the sense of meaning like if you go back to back and then the next round you go back to back. Now you have the opportunity to get really good players. And now say hypothetically you get like a running back, and then next one you get like a receiver tight end or a receiver quarterback. Now everybody else going to have to start adjusting like, damn, quarterbacks is going to start to go. So now they're going to have to adjust and probably jump early to get somebody they don't want to get. So it depends. I personally like the top three or the last three, like Chris. But realistically, if I had the opportunity, I want the first pick. Like, let's be real. You
I
want the
mean,
best player.
not everybody wants it.
But I would like this year, if it had a choice, give me the 12th pick so I go back to back.
Okay,
Because
okay,
I
that's
work,
not
I
bad.
like to work. I like I don't know. I draft. I don't feel like I'm very straightforward with my draft. Every year I pretty have like a similar scheme, but I adjust according to like the player on the board.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I think the good thing about all three of us is we've all been in drafts with each other in our own home leagues, and I think a lot of us typically are going to dictate who gets taken in the next couple of rounds, right? So there's some years where Brady will go tight end early, and that'll force a couple of people to make some picks out of character, right? Because they start thinking, oh, tight ends are about to have a run. And then there's other years where you just see Therm and you're going crazy on three straight running backs,
Three
four straight
running
running
backs.
backs. And then now people are starting to see the scarcity. And then now you're starting to get value dropping to you. So you're going to be in a good pole position to at least dictate what's going to happen on the board. I think that's very important and underrated, to be honest. Typically, I start the quarterback run. That's kind of my thing. I'll either do a number one quarterback out the gate, or I kind of like to get that value. The last few years, last year bit me, but last few years has pretty much been wait until the end and take the last of the good quarterback. So typically it's been Kyler Murray. Before that, Deshaun Watson was a good target. So I typically go after like those, like here's the last guy before it could just be quarterback dart throws at that point, right? And streaming options. So I like the pole positions. I don't
Also, I
think.
wanted to say, for the theme for the back to back picks. So hypothetically, you got 2 rounds and you got two back to back picks.
Mhm.
You have better value players compared to most. So that could be like trade assets in the future. So hypothetically, you got like a low. So your first two picks, you got like a low tier one and a high tier two, and then your next two picks, you got a low tier two and a high three. You can use like the two twos to trade value for like a high one for somebody, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah,
So just the perspective on it.
no, it's all a matter of playing into your philosophy, right? What's your philosophy? Who are you going to target, and what are you going to target? And that kind of leads us into the next topic that we're talking about, which is, what are popular strategies, not necessarily that the leagues should use, but what do you think our audience is going to want to use in order to win this year in fantasy? There's a bunch of different types of strategies, right? I think last year we saw a lot of hero wide receiver, meaning there was a lot of wide receivers taken in those first rounds. The running backs kind of got pushed to the second round where there was a bigger run on running backs. I think that trend reverses, and we're going to see a lot of running backs in the first round this year, but there's still a lot of big names at wide receiver. So, I'll spin it to you first. What are some of those popular strategies that you think can be successful this year?
Um, I would say personally speaking, because like you said, there's first of all, there's a lot of running backs, a lot of good
Mhm.
running backs. Not a lot of, it's a lot of good wide receivers, but there's a lot of like top tier running backs, but not as depth as receivers. So my philosophy, I personally like to go. I like to get a top value player at each position personally. So some people like to do running back, or receiver, or
Or
running back,
balance. So
receiver.
you're going
But
for a
I personally
balance.
like, yeah, I like to have like a at least a B level type of player at each position if I can. A to B level at each position, and then worry about the bench, and then make trades if need be if one position is weaker than the other.
I like that. And to be fair, these strategies are going to work whether you're in a half point PPR, full point PPR, or a standard league, right? No points per reception at all. But in a PPR league, right, wide receivers are obviously going to take precedence. We speak for our own home league rules, which is half point PPR, because I think PPR is a little cheap, just to be honest with you. So we go half point PPR, just to give the wide receivers a little bit of love, but not make them too overpowered as a position. Just as a small disclaimer, but Therm, I'm gonna spin it to you. I think we already know the answer, but what's a strategy that you think is gonna be top tier this year?
So it's actually kind of a double thing. So the one is the obvious one. Just go heavy on the running backs because there's a lot this year. There's a few rookies that are definitely worth taking a swing at, and then there's a lot of mid-round running backs. But what I really want to get at is go tight end early. How early? Not first round early, no, but back of the second half, early third, absolutely. And when I'm saying that,
I
I'm
had that
talking
first.
about targeting Brock Bowers and then targeting Sam Laporta. Those two specifically. I mean, Bowers is going to be the main focal point there. Ashton Genty is going to be good, but it's still going to run funnel through Bowers. I'm pretty sure if they want any success in actually winning. And then long shot here, very long shot here. You could gamble on Loveland from in Chicago. It's just rookie tight ends generally do struggle. I know the last 2 years we had a rookie break the record, and then the next rookie break his record. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but
Ooh, the
he
streak is
might
busted. Streak is
be like
busted.
500 yards. Oh,
I like it.
absolutely. I don't really because I mean I expect Chicago to take a step forward. I expect Caleb to be a better quarterback, but he's a rookie behind an already solid tight end. I
Hmm.
mean, I like what's his face.
Cole
I
Komet,
can't
he's still
remember.
there.
Yeah, Komet. I like Komet. You know, like he is a
Hmm.
solid tight end. Don't get me wrong. Maybe Loveland is better. You know, I'm not saying Komet is like a top 10 tight end at all. No, but he's a good tight end. So
Yeah, we just don't know
it's a
at this point.
gamble. I
Yep.
wouldn't take Loveland that early, but it'd be. I'm saying target Bowers. I think if you're able to get Bowers, especially if you're again pick 12, and on that second comeback, you know when you pick was that not 12, 13, but whatever numbers those are. I'd say go immediately right then and there and take him because if you have him, your tight end position is good for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's right.
I
so
got Kittle
Running
so
too.
back and a tight end early.
hero tight end is also kind of like a strategy that a lot of people are running down, only because it's pretty much in previous years has always been the same. There's about a good top four. After the four, there's a pretty much a streaming option. Like you can kind of take anybody and they'll all finish around the same, right? You don't want to be in the back half where you have nobody, just like streaming defenses. But at the same token, you don't want to necessarily jump too early and you're taking Kelsey in the second or a Mark Andrews ahead of where they should be. So I like the strategy. You want to get some guys with some upside. Rookies especially will have a terribly low ECR, so where they get drafted is going to be a lot lower than the value that they may potentially bring. So good dart throws, especially late. I like the fact that you added targets in there, but strategy wise, I think that's pretty solid, as solid as it gets. Yeah, fam.
I just want to say, as far as sticking in with the tight ends, going to Baltimore, I would take Likely before I take Mark Andrews. Andrews is going to probably have his decent red zone touchdowns and his red zone targets, but Likely is a better player at this point in their careers, and I think Likely is going to have a breakout year. Will he flirt with 1,000? I don't know, but I think he'll get at least 500, 500, 5 touchdowns minimum,
Okay. I mean,
and that's kind of a
it's
breakout year.
all depending on your build, right? So if I'm following the tea leaves, it looks like in terms of build, you're going to go running back early in that build, right? It's a hero running back model. So go running back early. He's prioritizing tight ends, possibly after filling out some of the roster, or maybe even before. Maybe it's three straight running backs and a tight end, depending on how the board falls. But you want to grab a couple of positions. My personal philosophy is there are certain positions that I don't want to have to think about throughout the week. I don't even want to waste my brain power on thinking of waivers for certain positions. Tight end is one of them. Defense is another one. So typically, I'm a little bit ahead of consensus where they're going and where they're being drafted, just because I don't want to have to think about it. So aim low. In my opinion, I try to get high floor guys. I don't necessarily care about high ceiling guys because I got to spend premium picks there. But high floor tight ends, high floor defenses, that's typically my bag.
That's my bag, brother.
As far as
You're a
defenses,
tight end premium.
defenses
You're a
are
tight end
coming
Listen,
in.
premium.
I started the tight end philosophy in this
You're a
league.
tight end premium though. You're going tight end
I started
early.
the trend.
You're going high ceiling tight ends. You're going my guy in Arizona with the high ceiling.
G Dub,
You're going Kelsey. You're going Waller in the
Waller. I'm
past.
going
Like
tight
I,
ends.
I
I
tight
had
end
Mark Andrews
premium
too
is
for two
what you
years, and I
want.
flipped
That's
him.
all I'm saying. I feel that I'll
I'm gonna
just
say
go with
this.
whoever gets the goal line tutties. Like that's I bang over, I'll try to get that value there, right? That's just me because I hate having to think about a streaming waiver tight end. I've done that too many years and I'm just like it's not worth the headache. But
So I think defense is going to actually be tough this year.
oh,
I think it's going to be very
extremely,
tough.
They're
extremely.
always tough.
I think there's only so Denver is surefire.
Pittsburgh,
Philly should be surefire. Nope.
But before you
And
even
then
give
I'm trying to think.
a rundown of
That's
who's the
probably
relevant
it.
people, understand your league settings, people. So understand your scoring settings first. Are they rewarding teams that get scored on a lot from a defense perspective? Are they rewarding teams that get a lot of sacks, turnovers? Different teams have different leagues have different settings for how they're going to score it throughout the week. So for us, we play in a pretty standard default scoring when it comes to defenses. So Pittsburgh has been fine for us, but there are dart throw teams that even though they get a lot of points or give up a lot of yards, a team like Dallas in the past that gets a lot of turnovers as well has been a viable option. Not your number one go-to, but a viable option. This year, it's you'll hear about it more on our divisional breakdowns, right? And I think the defenses I would target are the defenses in some of these divisions that have just abysmal offenses, right? So I'm looking at targeting Houston, right, to bully the entire AFC South. I'm targeting, I don't know if I'm targeting Pittsburgh this year just because their division got better. Um, I don't know if I'm targeting Philly, and not to say that division games matter, but that's 6 games out of the fantasy season. So that's significant. And the NFC East, you got only 2 games against the Giants, right? The Cowboys should have a better offensive output against Philly's defense, no matter how good it'll be. Same thing with the Commanders. They may
No,
not
they
give
should.
up 5 turnovers
Okay.
and 7 sacks, but they're not going to be a 20-point defense against some of these teams like you can get in. Uh, I don't want to say Tampa just because that'll be a homer pick, but Tampa has a very shaky quarterback situation in the entire NFC South. It'll be a better defense to stream, right? Um, Maybe even Buffalo. Like nobody scares me in the AFC East quarterback wise. Why not Buffalo's defense, right? There's a couple of different
Because they
options in
do get
general.
scored on.
They do, but it's a hard place to play. And in the back half of the fantasy season, it'll be snowing. There'll be low scoring games potentially, right? Like these are the things you want to consider and think about if you're going to get a draft is set and stay. Even San Francisco, right? They might be a good, viable fantasy defense this year, but I don't think anybody in the history of fantasy football is
It
going to
could
put.
be.
I just don't think anybody in the history of fantasy football is going to put like there's no such thing as a defensive premium build or a hero defense build. Like that doesn't exist, right? You can be ahead of consensus on some of
Unless you
these
do like
teams.
IDP.
Yeah, if you're doing IDP, sure, right? But like, don't do IDP, people. Just don't. Save
it's
yourself.
horrible.
Save yourself. It's not fun. Nobody wants that. To the audience that's going to be in the regular leagues, though, it's okay to be ahead on some of the defenses. Thurm mentioned a couple of them that we think are going to be good this year. Denver, Pittsburgh, Philly, like your normal suspects there. Minnesota is a sneaky good one. Um, I think San Fran could bounce back now that they've kind of
Houston
gotten a
will
little
be good.
younger. They've lost a lot of the secondary, but that could have been just trimming the fat. Um,
Yeah,
Houston,
Houston
I
with
think, is going to be a good one.
Monty.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Heck, the Chargers may even formulate some type of defense under Harbaugh. Who knows, man? But as far as the builds go and how we think this should go, I think if I speak for all of us, right, running back is going to be a premium this year. There's going to be a lot of running backs taken early. Make sure you're targeting the right ones both early and late. So if you're going to go hero RB, that means typically I'm drafting one stud running back and then getting my next RB2 and flex later in the draft. If you're going to go heavy RB build and you're getting three running backs in the first 4 to 5 rounds, that's another strategy. Um, I think me and B go for balance a lot. Personally, just a line wise, I typically try to, if I get a running back, I'll go wide receiver next and then kind of flip them off until I find enough value in either tight end or quarterback or defensive position. But this year, I'm probably going tight end earlier than normal, just in general. Darren Waller's back, baby. We gotta get excited about that. Darren Waller's back. He's playing in Miami. He's got something to prove, brother. That's all. That's all. But I think we'll
He's
round it
playing
out.
with a quarterback that's one more headache away from dying.
Chill out.
Oh man. And also refuses to wear the Guardian cap. He's just not protecting himself in any way, shape, or fashion. I just it's not looking
So
good.
like, if if
Nigga
Tua goes
cool.
down again, it's gonna be the same thing. They're gonna like John, not John, Darren Wallace production's gonna suffer. Tyreek's gonna suffer. Waddle's gonna suffer.
I mean, yeah,
Just
that's
it kind
that's
of
a
is
fact.
what it.
They don't have anything there. They're not going to be trading for anybody worthwhile to probably salvage a fantasy season from that entire
That
offense.
boy Tua.
You got to bubble wrap him, man. I hope he
They're
comes
on
back
my
with a Guardian
like do
cap.
not draft list, except for
Yeah, I
HA.
mean,
He's like the only Dolphin I draft.
it's not horrible. I think they're in a
Tyreek
bad
still. He's not
situation.
early.
The thing is, I don't think any of
But
them.
that's the thing.
I don't think
You
any
kind
of
of
them
have
are
to.
slipping from their value,
You're
if you
not.
will. I mean, Tyreek Hill was a top 5 pick last year.
That's what I'm
Most
saying.
people had him top 3. He slid to the
More than
second
likely
round
will
now.
be again.
He slid one round. He's in the second.
That,
Waddle slipped one round from the
I
second
can't
to the
imagine
third
Ty Hill
now.
not going in the first.
I mean, right now, based on the
Waddle,
ratings,
that's okay. Like Waddle's not Tyreek Hill.
based on like where the early drafts are coming back and how people are drafting right now, the expert consensus rating has Tyreek Hill in the second round. Your first round is pretty much your usual suspects, right? But there's a lot more running backs pushed up this year that pushed some of those wide receivers out of that first range. So you're going to have right now Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Saquon, Gibbs, Bijan, Brees Hall. Oh, you can't see the fingers that I'm counting on. You have
Probably
Bijan, you
Genty
have Brees
too, right?
Hall. Genty is at 10. You still have Amon Ra, CD Lamb. Um, I said AJ Brown. No, I didn't yet. You got AJ Brown there. You got Derrick Henry there. That's 11. We're already at almost 12 names. Tyreek hasn't been mentioned yet, right? Like he's slipping to the middle of that second round just based off of last year, the Dolphins' current situation, and things we already alluded to, right? With the Tua nonsense. So I don't know. They got a lot to figure out down in Miami. I think it's too much of a party place, and nobody actually wants to work hard to be there. But that could be me, right?
HA does.
I've rooted for Florida teams my whole life. They're all on vacation for most of the year. People don't actually want to win; they just want to live there, right? So that's just how I see most Florida teams. Almost the same thing with California-based ones, right? Um, for the most part, I think that's a good strategy that we're kind of doing. I think prioritizing running back early, I think, is going to be the theme of this year, just in general. I implore you to go for a balanced team, but my only controversial take this year is that I would stream quarterback. That is my only controversial take this year. Because if you don't get the top three fantasy wise, not in real life, fantasy, top three quarterbacks, if you don't have Josh Allen, if you're not going to get Lamar, if you're not going to get, sorry, Hurts, if you're not going to get JD5 this year, almost everybody else is going to finish around the
Pretty sure
same.
Jalen put up more fantasy points than him last year.
He did not. It's fine
I'm
though.
pretty sure Jalen put up more. Right.
He
Okay.
did not. Jaden Daniels finishes the
Okay.
QB3.
Yeah, I think Jaden is dead hot more.
Fair enough.
But that's Hurts in a down year,
I
by the
think
way.
Hurts was
This
like
is this
five.
is one of Hurts' worst years fantasy wise in the last like three, and he still put up QB4 numbers. Like he still did fine. He just didn't have holy crap 40 and 50 point games. It was a very consistent like 20 typically on average across the board. But again, if you don't have those guys, which are going to end up spending a third or fourth round pick, it to me, that extra 5 to 7 points a week, I'd rather shore up my RB room, get my wide receiver two, maybe even go for that tight end premium at that point, right? But those are the positions that I think will provide more value as opposed to I have a slightly better quarterback this year, but I'm only getting 5 more points a week at that, right? Like I would, and I'm not saying like go all the way to the, we're gonna try to get, I don't know, throw a name out there, a
Joe
Jared
Flacco.
Goff or a
Matthew
Matthew
Stafford.
Stafford or something. Like I'm not saying like prioritize those guys, but if we're gonna stream and stream properly, like Brock Purdy is damn near free. Dak Prescott is in the 10th or something round. Like you have quarterbacks that are still going to get close to a quarterback five finish than not. So for me, I think this year the people that stream quarterbacks will probably be in a better position than most years. But
Perhaps.
I want to thank you guys for joining our first live broadcast. We have a couple of episodes out already on the channel. You guys can rewatch those. You can rewatch any of our on demand stuff that's going to be on live. We'll be live every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. sharp. And thank you for listening to us today. We're going to close out today.
Also, if you stream quarterbacks like DJ said, you ain't gonna sleep at night.
See, be prepared to do
You're
your
not gonna sleep at night.
research if you're streaming
You're not gonna sleep
quarterbacks
at night.
so you can sleep at night. But even if you don't,
You're not gonna sleep at
that's
night.
what you got us for. Every Tuesday before waivers are here, we're here. We're here to help you that decided to stream quarterbacks figure out who's going to win you this league. That's what we're here for. You can sleep like a baby because you got us and you subscribe to the channel. But thank you all. We appreciate you. We'll see you next
Draft
week.
Caleb Williams.
Don't do
That's
that.
not bad.
Don't do that.
That's
Thermnation.
If
not
you
bad.
want to not sleep at night, draft Caleb Williams.
That's not bad.